Hey YouTube, Pejman Gadimi back with another video for Exotic Car Hacks, and today you have asked for it and we are finally bringing it to you. Which is the better car, the 2018 Lamborghini Performante or the completely customized 570S Vorsteiner? Now, listen, it's obviously the first thing you guys are gonna say is, PJ, you have no idea what you're talking about. How could you ever compare these two cars? They're not even in the same league. One is completely customized and the other one is bone stock. And that's a very valid point. And on that basis, let me just clarify how we're gonna kind of break down this entire test, because I own both of these cars. So these are not, review cars. I have not been given these cars just for the sake of, doing a YouTube video for them. I am actually the owner and the driver of both of these cars, which means I've gotten to experience both of them in a very unique way, and I'm not biased from one to the other because I actually enjoy both tremendously. We're going to break this test down into a couple of key categories: design, performance, value, and of course, just cool fucking factor. It just makes sense, right? And so we have two cars that may not seem to be on an even playing field, but when you consider that the Performante sticker is almost $100,000 more than the actual 570S in its stock form, we're evening out the playing field by giving the 570S the kick it needs to now compete with a brand new Performante. So while both of these cars are exciting, which one do you actually think is the better car? Well, let's find out together on this clip of Exotic Car Hacks match-off between the new Performante and the 570S completely customized by Vorsteiner. So here we are now comparing these two incredible cars. But first, let's talk about this car, because you haven't seen me talk enough about this car on my YouTube channel yet. I just got this car. This is the 2018 Performante. It's the only one in the United States in blue Glauco color, which is a weird Tiffany blue slash kind of a baby blue in the sun, and then a little bit of a greenish tint without the sun. So it's an incredible color, looks unbelievable in person, and just really complements the car well. With this particular spec, this was roughly a $325,000 sticker, and some of the basic options that we opted out for, outside of obviously getting the $10,000 paint job, was one of the things that was a big no-no with this car that people have complained about over and over and over again, was the dynamic steering. That was something that just every single person that I knew that had one said it was the most awful thing. And so we didn't put dynamic steering in it. And one of the other things we actually opted out for as well is we put normal comfort seats in it, which, while they don't look as cool as the carbon buckets, trust me when I say driving the car more than 10 minutes with those buckets will remind you of why that was the worst decision you've ever made. And so for the actual new Performante, right off the top, it is an incredible car, comes out of the box, and it is honestly the car that Lamborghini should have built quite a long time ago. Most of you saw my review of the Huracan itself and what a big giant plastic piece of shit it was, and now comes this Performante that is significantly better in every way. Outside of just the carbon forged elements added, Lamborghini listened, no more plastic inside the car, and a lot of plastic replaced on the outside with the carbon forging, but at the end of the day, it's just a better car. It's not just about the aesthetics. The car all around just looks and drives better than just any Lamborghini I've ever owned, and I've owned quite a lot of them. So big kudos to Lamborghini for this particular car. But now, what about this car? This car, you've seen it, you've heard me talk about it. The 570S, one of my favorite cars of all time. This is my second one, the orange one I had was a beautiful car, but I opted out for this completely spec white on red car with all carbon options everywhere. But that just wasn't enough. I knew the 570S was the most incredible driving car I had owned yet, but it just was missing that big McLaren like crazy feel, right? And so we went ahead and completely customized the body with an all Vorsteiner kit, front bumper, rear bumper, complete new chassis mounted wing, a new diffuser, and of course all the performance you can think, from the HRE wheels to the Velocity AP suspension to the Velocity AP tune, exhaust and downpipes. It sounds incredible, it drives extremely fast now, and it's finally the car it should have been from the factory, not just a baby McLaren, but a baby P1. And so both of these cars, as incredible as they are, still share so many similarities because both of them are now 300K plus, especially in their exact configurations. And so let's talk about which is aesthetically better. All right, so aesthetically, guys, both cars are extremely pleasing to look at. I mean, both cars are filled with carbon fiber. If you actually look at the 570S, you have all of this beautiful, entirely carbon fiber front bumper. And with the Performante, you have this carbon forged front lip, but a very much more aggressive bumper design than the regular Huracan. So right up front, both have an incredibly beautiful front end. But when we look from the side, that's when things get a little bit different, because with the 570S, you get these beautiful 3D doors, and you get this carbon that follows the form all the way from the front, all the way to the side, carries onto the roof, onto the deck lid, and then onto this incredible, insane back end. And with the stance being so exciting, it just works flawlessly. On the Huracan, on the other end, it has this incredible front end, but when it flows to the side, now you have these awkwardly placed black side skirts, which honestly really make the car bizarre. And in many cases, we opted out for the branding package that gives you this gloss look, which at least looks a little bit better from the plastic matte finish, but still just doesn't feel as exciting. And while the little flag works, it just doesn't give it this, it gives it this kind of like ballsy Lamborghini feel, but it takes away from the beauty of it. Now, on the other hand, one of the biggest improvements on the Performante from the regular Huracan is this incredible deck lid with all of this carbon forging under, and then all of these vents that keep opening and closing with the Ala specific aerodynamics package. So with this, you see the carbon forging continues here. And then of course, one of the biggest changes on the Performante is the center mount exhaust with the carbon forging. Really beautiful. This carbon forging material is gorgeous to look at. It's like a marble countertop, except that it's really carbon fiber, and it's absolutely striking. It still retains some very minor plastic here and here, something that we don't find here aesthetically on the 570S. You see, it's all carbon. Now, this is the big piece, is that Lamborghini doesn't offer the rest of it in carbon forging. Yet, even in its stock form, the McLaren 570S was available just like this car, specifically at all carbon parts. So you see, that is why aesthetically, while the Performante in its color is more aggressive and its color is more exciting, the 570S's design with the Vorsteiner kit, now with the big chassis mount wing, gives it such a more powerful look. And of course, I think personally that the 570S wins, because while they were almost tied for design, then this happens. Doors go up. And so aesthetically, McLaren 1, Lamborghini 0. All right, so next, let's talk a little bit about performance. Now, I would be racing the cars down the street, but I can't really race myself. But I can tell you that the McLaren 570S has changed drastically since its enhancements. Originally, the car drove very well like a 911 Turbo, but it was really lacking that kick in the ass FU that it has now. Now that we have the full tune, the downpipe, and the exhaust on, the car not only sounds incredible, but actually flies like a rocket ship. But turbo cars are still very different than naturally aspirated cars, especially V10s that have been perfected by Lamborghini. And so one of the things that's been incredible about driving the 570S is that it's very precise. I think the transmission is still amazing. It lets you flip-flop the paddles so you can shift up and down from each side, and actually, from a performance standpoint, it handles like it's on rails, even though it's not really all-wheel drive. So with the 570S, you get a much more precise driving experience all around every day. It can be very comfortable to drive in traffic, it can be very calm, and it can be a rocket ship, like just slicing through anything. Just amazing. And if you drive through a tunnel, the spool of the turbos is just intoxicating. But with the Performante, you just get that rage. You know, you get the Lamborghini rage that's been missing from so many cars, and what makes the Lamborghini so great. You get that alpha, dominant, like FU, I'm here. It's loud, but it's loud just right. It doesn't even need exhaust from the factory. And on top of that, it's just so powerful and exciting when you get on the throttle, especially in sport or Corsa mode. And that is why I think the Performante, even with a customized 570S that I think technically is faster in a straightaway, I think the Performante is just a much better balanced performance car. And so if I was going to track one, if I was going to pick one to be the car that I ultimately get the most fun driving, right? That I get the most excitement taking out, I usually think of my weekend drives as the Performante. And so performance-wise, even including suspension, including drivability, and including just the feel of the incredible performance on a Sunday drive, we're gonna give Lamborghini 1, McLaren 0. All right, so where is really the value? I look at value as how people perceive the actual cars, right? Everybody knows what a Lamborghini is. When you see a Lamborghini coming, you're automatically that rich guy that just had too much money to spend, and you just ended up with a car that's obnoxiously loud, and that's okay because that's what the Lamborghini brand is about. It's about ballsiness, right? But with the McLaren, it feels like class. It feels like elegance. It feels like you understood cars. You bought something that was centric around the idea of driving, and that's why I think the McLaren is such an incredible perceived car by the public, because first off, McLaren was associated with $1 million supercars for the longest time, and most people who've never even heard of McLaren think of McLaren as the old days of the F1, you know, or the SLR, and some of these cars being like, you know, $500,000 to $1 million. And so even a 570S is perceived that way by the general public. The reactions are crazy, especially when the doors go up. Now, on the other hand, I think with the Performante, and we are comparing this Performante to this McLaren, the Performante in this color is just unbelievable. I mean, it's attractive, it's insane, it's both very masculine and feminine, and it's just very, very, very exciting. Look at the blend of the color and the marble. I mean, it's just beautiful, right? The carbon forging with that shine to it, it just works so well. And so, you know, even down to just the public persona of having gold on the engine, you know, instead of having the regular black block, it just looks so, so beautiful. Now, listen, both of these cars are absolutely incredible, but people reactions don't lie, right? Meaning at the end of the day, when you go down to the local avenue or you go down to the local strip where all the people are, all the restaurants are, both cars get tremendous attention, but they get different kinds of attention. And so if I had to choose between which of these cars is ultimately the biggest crowd pleaser, I would say that the majority of men go towards this car and actually enjoy it, take a photo of it, and find it to be incredible. Either it's the color, it's the fact that it's a new Performante. However, the majority of the public still asks more questions about this and ultimately spends more time glancing over this, taking photos, and trying to analyze what this is because they've never seen anything like it. And so I think when we think about the value you get for $300,000, I mean, it's so hard to decide, right? Is it just this crazy looking McLaren or is it this crazy color Performante? Now we know that performance-wise, this is a more attractive car to drive on the weekends, but they're both performance like driven, so they're both fun. Just this one gets that soul out a little bit more, while this one just has a whole different feel to it. But if I was gonna think for the money, which one crowd enjoy more, again, I would say that while most people take a photo of this, most of the crowd still comes back to this one. And again, it comes back to this very simple fact. I know I keep saying this, but it really makes a difference, especially at this price point. I mean, you have to understand that there's very few car manufacturers that offer this in a reliable setting, in a powerful setting, with a warranty, under 300 grand. I mean, we know the Aventador does this used, but the Aventador is a piece of shit. I mean, like, complete piece of shit. It drives like shit, it's got a single clutch, it's impossible to see anything, and it's honestly not even performance driven on any basis except a straight line. So the Aventador's crap, but this is actually amazing to drive and a lot of fun. So in this basis, McLaren takes the win and Lamborghini takes the 0. Okay guys, so with the interiors on both cars, it's gonna get even tougher because this is the fully spec'd 570S with the full carbon interior. You can see the carbon paddles here, the carbon steering wheel, the carbon all the way to the center console, and of course even the carbon on the speakers. Truly as carbon as it gets in the 570S, and honestly, a must if you're going to spec out a 570S. You have to. Now, there are some inconsistencies here. There is no storage in this car on any basis. I can't even put a gun in here. Nothing fits here. There is no glove box here. And honestly, you can't really put a gun here. So you have one cup holder, something completely useless. Then you have all of your commands here. Another cup holder if you want it here, or a sunglass holder, whichever place you want to put this. But you only have to choose one. Again, very limited. The speaker design is beautiful. You can see the speakers here on the side. And the vent design is very well crafted. It's beautifully laid with hand-stitched. All the suede, the leather combination just works really well to create a very exciting cockpit. And the red is not too much in this particular spec. It's halfway, so it's not overbearing. Really a nice interior. Suede headliner, follow screw, minimal storage in the back. Again, very, very small cockpit when it comes to storage. But unlike the 650S, and you have this more open middle, so you're not cramped like this. And these seats are extremely comfortable. So fully adjustable, automatic, and everything in between. Now, with the interiors, let's take a look at the difference when we start the cars. The display here, absolutely gorgeous to look at. And of course, just like the Performante, once you activate the actual, controls, you switch everything from sport to then back to the track mode, and you get all of your displays constantly changing. Something that was here that was not available in the original Huracan. The way I describe this interior is the radio never works worth shit. Like, it's completely crap. Like, the reception is completely shit, and half the times your media doesn't work. And while this is like the little Tesla screen, it's completely useless. So McLaren gets a 0 when it comes to electronics. The sound system's okay, but you still get a 0 when it comes to electronics. So half of these things don't really work, meaning they work, but they don't work consistently. And even though it has Sirius XM, that doesn't even work. So again, it proves that in the technology area, just like the MP4, even though the 570S is more reliable as a car, it still can't play a song worth shit. So that's that. Now, then next you have your little fan controls. Everything is here, but again, overly complicated, meaning you have to keep going through the screen back, forth, until you get to the places you want. And while the nav works, and while the actual telephone works okay too, and the AC works fine, every time you turn on the AC, there's an overbearing noise coming from the engine because it's pushing the engine more. So again, you have all of these things, then you have your little mirrors here, and you have your little lights here. The placement on the McLaren, while simple, this works really well, this really doesn't, and then all of everything else outside of the driving experience just doesn't work. It seems that McLaren did such a good job with the car and the idea of driving, but it did such a piss poor job to actually make the car enjoyable outside of its racing heritage, or outside of the idea of enjoying the car beyond just the drive. So that's where I think this interior fails, but yet aesthetically it's simple, it's pleasing, and it works really well. Now let's take a look at the Lamborghini. Now with the Performante, you got a little bit of a completely new cabin. It looks very similar to the original Huracan, but it really isn't when you think of it. First off, Lamborghini really listened. When we said no more plastic, they took that to heart. The only thing that's pretty much plastic on the inside of the car is this, and a useless CD player here. Otherwise, everything else is completely carbon forged, suede covered in contrast stitching, carbon forged handles, gloss in the center so it doesn't look like that plastic crap. And these, while silver here, I enjoy the silver. Some people make them dark shadow and make them black so it kind of blends the car. I like the contrast, so I keep it. But in most cases, this is also an option. And as long as it's an option, then it's a question of preference, as long as they offer it. Now, with the display here, the benefit is, first off, you can actually see the radio, you see your RPMs, and as you change modes here, again, you get, for the first time, unlike the Huracan, you get the full race display exactly similar to the McLaren, which is really, really nice. It gives it a much better drive-in racing experience. Now, in addition to that, one of the things we opted out for in this particular car was a leather steering wheel. We didn't go with the suede steering wheel because in my last Performante, the suede gets damaged really easily. And as a result of it, the steering wheel looks like complete shit after just a few months. In this case, I opted out for the full leather steering wheel to give it a much better look. And then of course the black here, so it doesn't have, again, the plastic feel. Carbon paddles, beautiful cross stitching on the seats, headrest and the logos, suede headliner, and again, the ad personam in the center, with the way the design is in the yellow, just looks right. even down to picking the colors on your seatbelts, which is amazing and looks fantastic. One of the other upgrades that they've had, this one I opted out to not have the cup holder for a cleaner look, and because I obviously don't want to let my friends drink in the car because they spill shit, including the camera guy. On the first time we met, this was our first date, he spilled all of his coffee on my first Performante, so that's not there. Get it? Okay. Anyways, so this is now all gloss, looks really nice, gives it a design element. And honestly, I can't tell you enough how much improved this cabin is from a regular Huracan, which looks like a giant plastic piece of shit. This car, on the other hand, down to the floor mats, does an incredible job at creating what should have been created from day one in the Huracan. Now, there is a few things that just don't work. First off, the vent system is all here and very clear, except how to use it gets a little bit confusing. You have to first press this to adjust it, then you have to press this to adjust again where things are, like if it's up, down, and everything else, and everything seems to make sense, like it is as it should be, right? It's easy to use. Then you have all of these switches, which again, these do your windows, this is your lift, your electronic stability control, and then your parking, which gives you a camera right into the dash. All of that is great and works, but then here gets a little bit of the complicated part. So you have all of these menu items for the car, but in addition to these menu items, you also have these 4 things that give you sub-menu items. So while you're driving, you literally have to become a tech expert and know exactly what to press at all times to literally navigate a menu that is right here. Now that's okay, but half of this shit is never used, so it shouldn't technically be here. I think the radio and the media and stuff should be here, but all this stuff could be elsewhere because it's a huge distraction. And you have all these knobs and things that are not useful. The Lamborghini, trademark push start like the Jet Fighter, outstanding. The reverse and your gears, again, outstanding. Now, the quality of the buttons, again, plasticky. It's okay, I can live with that. I don't have to complain since these vents are beautiful forged carbon. And so, now, while the sound system is nowhere near as nice as the Boker and Wilkins, there's also no higher end sound system for this Lamborghini, which means that you're stuck with kind of whatever they give you, which is why most people go and put an aftermarket sound system and completely destroy their car. It destroys the car. That's a long story for another video. But anyways, so long story short, things work as they should. The feel makes you feel like a billionaire. And in addition to that, the color, the contrast, and just the quality of build seems to be, while not as precise as the McLaren, just much more striking to be in a car like this where you really feel like you're in a $300,000 car. And so for that reason, the Performante takes the interior challenge 1 and the McLaren 0. All right, guys, there you have it. We have gone step by step into this crazy match-off between the Performante and the 570S, and you got to see firsthand why I actually believe that the Performante, while significantly better than the Huracan, is the car Lamborghini should have built for the past 15 years of its existence. I mean, even before the Aventador came out, this car should have been the car that Lamborghini released because it is the essence of everything Lamborghini, and it does such a great job. And on the other hand, you've witnessed why the 570S, such an amazing, perfect car from the factory, but yet just understated, needed that extra kick to really make it compete with some of the bigger, more badass cars out there. And so we wouldn't have a 570S any other way than this crazy customized version, and I wouldn't have a Lamborghini any other way than this crazy color blue Glocco Performante. And so which is the better car? And so you've actually seen it. You've seen the stats. I've kind of shown you step by step what was most important. But for me, personally, which one would I pick as my go-to car, the car I want to get into each and every time? Is it the Performante with its incredible experience and amazing sound and just unbelievable color? Or is it the 570S with its crazy chassis-mounted wing, carbon fiber everywhere, and this essence of precision? Personally for me, I know you're going to probably hate me for this one, it's going to have to be the 570S. Time and time again, every time given a choice, every time I look in the rear view, every time I'm actually driving the car, I just get this feeling that I just want to be in this car. And not only I enjoy what I feel inside, I enjoy what people see outside, and I truly enjoy the experience and the ownership of the 570S now that it's modified better than the brand new Performante. I know it's pretty sad, right? And while not taking away a single inch away from the fact that the Performante is the best Lamborghini yet to date, I still believe that the 570S completely customized is just a better car, especially at that 300K price point. So hopefully you've enjoyed this YouTube match-off between the Performante and the 570S, and we'll catch you guys next time on another video of Exotic Car Hacks. But wait, make sure to subscribe to the button below, which you probably know how to do that. Again, I'm pointing at, down there, but yeah, subscribe below for a chance to make sure you're subscribed, because that wouldn't make sense. Then next time you're not going to be able to know what you're actually, if I'm launching a new video, because I don't launch that many videos, so you should at least know that. And then make sure you visit the link to actually learn how to get into your own exotic cars and stop just clicking like buttons on YouTube or on Instagram, but actually get to drive your very own cars. It will change your life. That's why we teach you completely free in our 90-minute training, following the link below, on how you too can own an exotic car for a fraction of cost. But more importantly, join the only community of financially savvy exotic car owners on the internet that are spending their time not just buying cars and talking about them, but actually teaching each other or helping each other get into the best exotics at the least amount of cost, and in many cases completely free. So guys, we'll catch you next time in another video. No more shenanigans this time. I didn't start the dance or a little Smurf thing going on, but I'll catch you next time, and we'll definitely do more of that.